I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call of aldermen.
Mr. Heisler. Here. Mr. Kinsella. Mrs. Holt.
Here.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Ridgewitz. Mr. Randall.
Here.
Mr. Anthony. Mr. Davidson. Mr. Silsby. Mr. Hayden. Mr. Seibert. Mr. White. Mr. Galletti. Mr. Musgrove. Mr. Orlett. Mrs. Schneider.
Alderman Kinsella and Alderman Galletti both called, asked to be excused because of family illness, and I told them we understood. At this time, I'd ask for roll call of department heads.
City Treasurer Dean Hart.
Here.
Police Chief Bill Clay. Fire Chief Tom Poore. City Attorney Garrett Horner. Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle. Jamie Matrit. Tim Gregowitz. Jim Schneider. Leander Spearman. Emily Foltz. Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo. Debbie Belleville.
Okay, Chuck Schaefer is excused. He got a grandson in the hospital. And Bill Clay's on vacation. Assistant Lieutenant Colonel Sparger's here in his place. Did I miss somebody else? Roger Barfield's here for Bob Sabo, who's on vacation. So I think we covered all the vacations. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we go much further, I want to explain, as we do many meetings, but tonight, just moments ago, there was a warning put out by the National Weather Service that we are in a severe thunderstorm area. We will keep you posted. The police department's listening closely. If for some reason we felt the need to vacate this room, we would ask you to go quietly, follow the police department's leads down the hallway. Right across from the clerk's office is the stairs going downstairs into the basement area, which we believe is the safest place to be. We will direct you if that needs to happen. If there would be any reason to leave the building far as a fire ever or smoke, we would ask you to carefully and quietly leave the building out the front door, cross the street cautiously, and meet in front of the sign, the St. Clair County Courthouse sign in front of the courthouse, so that we can kind of check and see if all faces appear to be present. We don't have an exact head count in here, but we kind of know who we're sitting by and see if we can. So those are my comments about the disaster planning for this building. I would like to start off this evening and ask for a moment of silence after reading today and learning yesterday of the death of Senator Alan Dixon, a longtime senator from the state of Illinois and a Belleville person who gave many, many years of service in government, various walks of life and serving. And I would ask that we would pause for a moment of silence for Alan Dixon. I thank you for that very much. I'm going to ask if, for the sake of, because I think public participation this evening could take a little bit of time, I'm going to skip over for one of the presentations and ask that Mr. Brad Joseph would come forward, as we have a proclamation to share with him about the wonderful story that was in the paper recently about the 100-year anniversary of Oliver C. Joseph. Brad? I'll read this if you want to stand present, and you got a lot to be proud of. This proclamation comes from the City Council. Whereas founded in 1914 by Oliver C. Joseph Incorporated continues to be a family-owned and operated business. And whereas in 1914, 24-year-old Oliver C. Joseph, who was recently married at that time, applied for a Dodge Brothers motor car agency and was chosen from among 14,000 applicants. And whereas sometime around the Civil War, the previous dealership located on West Main Street in Belleville was built and then modified just after Oliver C. Joseph began selling his new Dodges. And whereas in 1948, a separate service department was added to the dealership. And whereas in 1958, Oliver D. Joseph succeeded his father the day Oliver Dee's son, Brad Joseph, was born. And whereas in 1976, the famous 1927 Pullman Railroad car arrived and was placed for many years right there on West A Street. And whereas in 1998, after the death of Oliver Kurt Joseph, general manager, and after years of working in many different positions in the dealership, Brad Joseph, Oliver Dee's younger son, began handling the day-to-day operations. And whereas on August 1st, 2006, a new era began when the opening of the new 6-acre, 25,000 square foot dealership facility on Highway 15 at Belleville Crossing near Frank Scott Parkway. And whereas Oliver C. Joseph legacy continues in the oldest continual operating Chrysler Corporation dealership in the world. And whereas Oliver C. Josephs had thrived due to the efforts of 3 generations of Joseph family dealers, their employees, and the support of the communities it serves. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, do hereby recognize and congratulate Oliver C. Joseph for 100 years of uninterrupted service to Belleville through 3 generations of continuous family leadership, providing superior service to the customers. Brad, we're very, very proud to give you this small token of our appreciation. 100 years is a long time. It's particularly interesting that this year is the City of Belleville's 200th, and that the Oliver C. Joseph and his entire family have been in distinction of the only dealership to have family ownership for that entire 100 years. And we thank you. We wish you much more continued success. And we really, I knew your father well. I knew your grandfather. And I was small, but I remember him well from church. And they both were outstanding men who left great footprints here in this city, involved not only in the business aspect, but in very much of the community in other aspects, dealing with helping build hospitals and YMCAs and all kinds of things. And we're very appreciative for what your family has done. I thank you.
I would just mention make a few remarks if I may. I'm very proud of the fact that there's a photograph at Memorial Hospital showing my father turning over the first spade of dirt. My grandfather was chairman of the drive to double the size of St. Elizabeth's. That was a few years previous. And I'm also very proud that when we moved to the new site on Highway 15, it was very important to me that every building we had was occupied, and there were more people working. Five different companies actually occupied that property. More people working there in downtown Belleville than I had employed at my dealership at that time. We've gone from 22 employees to right at 100 right now, and I'm very, very proud of the success we've had in the city of Belleville. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate you bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen, so that at this time, we're going to open public participation. But in an effort to, Carol Pointowski couldn't be here this evening. We taped a short presentation that might answer some questions, and then we'll open the discussion to everyone about the German Christmas market. And so I did take the distinction of saying we would play this first because it may satisfy some questions that some people have. They didn't see the presentation if they didn't get to the Belleville Main Street meeting where she presented. So at this time, Rich, I'm going to ask if we could, I guess is it best to dim the lights a little bit? Well, maybe hit some of the lights in that first bank there. Yeah, that up here would help, I think. Okay. Good. And we'll go ahead and play this. It's about 7 minutes, I think, but I think she did her best to cover this very well since she couldn't be here.
Good evening. I'm Carol Pinkowski, and I truly am sorry that I couldn't be here with you tonight. We have planned a family vacation, and unfortunately, we could not change our plans. I am, however, available by phone, and if you have any questions after the presentation or during any discussion, any one of the committee members would be able to call me. On behalf of the Belleville 200 Committee, we are proposing an open-air German Christmas market to be held in downtown Belleville during the time between Thanksgiving and December 23rd. My husband retired from the Air Force a few years ago, and of all the places that we've lived, we chose to retire in this area. More specifically, we wanted to retire and live in Belleville, Illinois. It's the place that we love. It's a place that we find fascinating with all of the events that are held. We truly enjoy the combination of what the city does, what the retail establishments have to offer, as well as all the dining experiences that we have in Belleville. We believe that by prior approval of things that the city has already committed to, such as all the festivals, the fairs, Art on the Square, 5Ks, the Tour de Belleville, the chili cook-off, the new fountain, the new lights, everything that you have done already has put into place a terrific infrastructure to hold this open-air market right in the downtown area, more specifically on the walk. In German, it would be Walkplatzes that are held to the right and left of the fountain in front of 30 Public, the side of the Meredith home, and in front of Bank of America. As Belleville is steeped in German history, so too is the German Christmas market. It celebrates almost 700 years of tradition, culture, educational opportunities, and traditions which are still celebrated today in Germany, all through Europe, as well as many main cities in the United States. Under the 200 committee, our subcommittee that has looked into holding this market is comprised of retired military members, active duty military members, and German spouses of those military members. We have many other members of the local community who already volunteer on different events that are more than willing and very eager and anxious to help us. We have thoroughly researched these markets, and we know that we can bring a truly authentic German air to these markets. Myself, have been stationed in Germany with my husband for almost 7 years. I've been to the markets, so we know how important it is if we hold this market that it truly has to have that German flair that all the markets do. We have, again, as I said, we have researched this, so we really know what we are doing. We also know that Chicago, since 1996, is thought of as one of the biggest Christmas markets outside of Germany. Other cities that hold these markets are New York, New Baltimore, Maryland, Denver, Colorado, Pittsburgh. I've talked to a few of the organizers. I've talked to vendors that have vended at several of these markets and have comprised a list of information and data to help form this market in a professional and an authentic way. The nature of the market is really quite magical, and if you haven't been to Germany and seen and been to the markets, it's really hard to think, why would somebody want to come out in the winter and attend these markets and stroll around and shop? And I know there has been a question, why would people do this in the middle of winter? And the answer is they just do. It truly is magical. When you have something warm to drink, whether it's a ceramic mug of Glühwein, which is a spiced mulled wine, or a hot chocolate, maybe some authentic strudel from the Helmut Strudel Company, who has made strudel in the German, Austrian ways for hundreds of years, it is really quite something to be able to walk around and have that and then shop at different vendors. The market stalls that we are proposing are wood. They would be constructed in the authentic way that Germany and Austria holds these open-air markets. And again, we are looking at clustering them around on each side of the walkways and the fountains. In no way would traffic be obstructed, nor would the natural foot traffic be obstructed. We also believe that just as with all the festivals, the parades, the 5K runs, all the other things that Belleville has to offer, this is a unique and an excellent opportunity to bring newcomers, new shoppers, new visitors into Belleville, more specifically into the downtown area. In our research, one of the main tenets of retailing is the principle of a magnetism of a strong shopping destination proves to see a significant increase in retail activity. And that's why we believe that this opportunity of bringing the market will bring a big increase of new visitors to Belleville. Working closely with the Paderborn sister city and cross-marketing, and again, working very closely with the Main Street Merchant Association through Jerry and Daryl, we know that we can promote this in such a way that it will attract new visitors, new business, and new people to the experience of shopping in Belleville, and more specifically downtown Belleville. We will be offering items to sell, such as handmade lace that comes directly from Germany and is handmade in Germany, wooden nativities that are hand carved by an Austrian-born living currently in California, German cakes and cookies, glass ornaments that are hand-blown in Austria and Egypt, and also something of a heraldry nature whereby he researches your last name, can print it out either on paper and frame it, or even put it on a beer stein. What we do not intend to have is anything that can already be purchased in downtown Belleville. We are looking to capture a new market of people to come to keep them from maybe going out to the mall to find that unique Christmas gift that they're trying to find. So again, as I said, working closely with the Chamber of Commerce through the promotions that they already do, through their promotions of Main Street Association, through the Shrine, where they have busloads of people that come through. We are hoping to capture those groups as well as churches, schools. We are looking into offering some kind of a field trip opportunity with wood carving demonstrations, authentic German tasting, and seeing what the whole experience of an authentic German Christmas market is. So by cross-marketing with all those different groups of people, we believe that will truly bring in new retail business to downtown Belleville. In addition to that, our vendors will be staying in the area, they will be shopping in the area, they will be eating in the area. The nature of the way the market is set up, and having talked to these vendors themselves who have years of experience in setting up this kind of environment, they're not looking to stay a half hour away, have to travel to come down here and open up their booths. They're not looking to go out to the mall. They also enjoy seeing what small towns across the United States have to offer. And they have told me that this is one of the things that they truly enjoy about their kind of business, is coming into different towns and seeing what there is available that they can't find in their hometown. In addition, the committee has decided and proposed that one of the house that we have, the market type chalets, will be for a nonprofit. And in this, we propose that groups of nonprofit organizations apply to use the house from anywhere from a day, a couple days, to maybe 4 days. And they could offer such services as gift wrapping, hot chocolate, popcorn, handmade Christmas ornaments. And we're looking at working closely with groups such as Hospice, Save, Scouting, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And we know that the community of each one of those nonprofits will help come and support them. So again, that's another new type of customer that we're looking to attract to downtown Belleville. As I previously stated, we're also looking at offering field trips that would include wood carvers, maybe something to happen at the Lincoln, authentic taste of German food, and again, bringing in another group of people that may not know what Belleville currently has to offer. We currently have a pledge by Home Depot to help in the initial startup cost of this endeavor. We are also working closely with other community members, and we know that we can get the cost offset by a large majority of these community members. I hope that I have answered any questions that you may have, and I thank you for this time.
The one thing that Carol didn't touch on is that these chalets that they're talking about are 10 by 10 in size, and we've already had a preliminary commitment from the local carpenters local that they would build them for us as part of their apprenticeship program to help, that way there'd be no labor involved in building these, and they'd be built very well. And they could be taken apart and stored. So just to explain that that was one more thing. The other thing that she, I think, was just, and I'll open this up now, just maybe just a little bit light on is the committee, the 200th committee, and I sit on those meetings each week. There's a good look at how they were there. The 200th committee, though, had much discussion and listened to many that we believe that one of the biggest draws will be to really, I think, bring the military to downtown more than ever. They really have had good experiences over their visits to Europe and Germany, and they have all boasted about the unique specialness of these German Christmas markets. So with that, I appreciate your indulgence listening, but I thought that might answer some questions. At this time, open up public participation for any topics this evening. And if you raise your hands, I'll call on you, come to the microphone, give your name and address, and we'll prepare to listen. Yes, sir.
Michael Hackberg, 701 Centerville Avenue. Over the past several months, I've raised questions pertaining to TIF 10. 6 weeks ago, the city attorney commented that a written response would be available in a few days. I have yet not received a copy of any such written response to my questions. I can say that I hope his written response is not based on his verbal comments of that evening. The city attorney commented that the April payment includes an advance payment due in October. Simple mathematics will show that the April payment is 70% of the prior year's tax collections. It is mathematically impossible that this amount be 70% of an uncollected amount that's collected between April and October. Because the October payment was not made until the following April, this year alone, the notes accrued an additional $20,000 of accrued interest. Mr. Horner's comments that the accrued interest is meaningless because based on the revenue generated at the current level of development, the notes will never be repaid before the TIF expires is unsettling. Unlike the current administration, I feel that over the next 22 years, there could be significant growth and investment in TIF 10. Even moderate growth could result in paying off these notes years before the TIF expires, at which time 100% of the TIF money will be available for infrastructure repair and development. The city attorney stated he is unaware of a missing page detailing how the taxpayers owe $8.9 million. He should have asked Jamie Matrix, the city's chief financial officer. In a FOIA, she has acknowledged that the missing page is missing, and it is still my belief that whomever created the payment schedules would have a copy of this missing page. My last question pertaining to the $824,000 paid in April of 2010 has been misunderstood. I am not claiming that the city failed to make the payment. The city indeed wrote a check to the investors, and the investors cashed it. What the city failed to do is deduct the $824,000 from the balance due on the notes. I am glad to see that this agenda item is on tonight's agenda, and would like it to remain on the agenda until these questions are answered. I hope this puts an end to the administration's tactics of delay, delay, delay. These are not overly complicated questions and should have been answered months ago. Also on tonight's agenda is addressing the sidewalk at 10 East Washington Street. This was brought to the city's attention over 2 years ago. For what seemed like a simple $2,600 fix, the city again opted to delay, delay, delay. Along with this remaining on the city council agenda, I would also request that it be included on the Streets and Grades project list until such time as the city receives the nearly $15,000 being withheld by the state. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Kathleen Lindauer at 5600 Douglas Road, Belleville. I am the Belleville Tourism Director here, and my office is over at the Chamber of Commerce. I would like to speak on behalf of the German Christmas market. I get all the visitors' calls, and I take care of all the groups that are coming into Belleville. And the more we have to offer for Belleville, the better it is, and the more groups that I can obtain. However, the groups don't come to Belleville just for one thing. They'll come for a destination, and Belleville has proven itself as a destination. And I do set up all those itineraries for all the buses and the groups coming. So, for an example, if we do have the Christmas market, they'll be attending the Christmas market maybe for an hour, but they'll also be shopping downtown. They'll be going to our museums and out to Eckert's. Maybe they'll do the cathedral. We have the largest cathedral in the state of Illinois, one of the largest pick your own orchards in the United States. We have nearly 10 miles, one of the longest continuous main streets in the United States. So the groups that are coming and the visitors that are coming are not here just to do one thing, but the more we have to offer, the longer we'll keep them here. So I would be very pleased that our office would be able to help market promote or add that Christmas market onto any of our brochures that we have, because Belleville already has over 150 events a year. So we're very fortunate to have that. And just down at the Belclair Fairgrounds, they draw 1.5 million people. I had just talked with Al down there. The Shrine draws a little over 1.3 million. Belleville alone draws several million because it's all incorporated into our area. So the more we have, the more visitors we'll have. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Stuart Lannert, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. I got this thing from Lindenwood, has been here since 2003. Now they're co-opting Belleville 200 celebration, and they're got their hand out all the time. They're trying to sell off bricks for $100. They're selling off anything that they can get a few bucks for. And here I am, a 1970 resident of Belleville since 1970, tax-paying voter since 1970, and these people at Lindenwood are trying to say that I'm not welcome, for instance, to this May 4th Belleville Philharmonic Concert and Tribute Center. They say I'll be arrested if I go there. I would like for somebody to tell me what high crimes I've done to be barred from Lindenwood for basically life, you know, that's what they say. And in 2000, yeah, they act like they're equal partners at Belleville's 200th party. They rehabbed 5 houses after forcing people out of their homes and used houses for less than a year. Now they are boarded up, and they probably got lead paint and asbestos in them. I hope we don't end up like we had on East Main for years. Leonard also gets $150,000 a year from the city of Belleville, and they have been getting $150,000 a year since 2003. Plus they get gobs of tax breaks and TIFs. And they're trying to say they're a private institution when they're getting gobs of taxpayers' money, and they're getting free advertisement from the News Democrat. The West End magazine was basically an advertisement so Lindenwood could palm it on up on any unsuspecting sucker to buy a brick for $100. That's the cheapest. I wonder how many hundreds of thousands Mark Kern paid him to get that thing paid, men's dormitory paid. I paid that so it could be named after his dad, and they're getting these parking lots named after some construction company people in Belleville, and some of them are in use in less than 6 months, and they're ripped up and used for another purpose. The woman's dorm was built on a brand new blacktop parking lot that wasn't more than a year and a half old. they'd have poor planning over there. And the men's,
Stuart, let's bring it to a close, please.
okay, well, the men's dormitory, or whatever you want to call it, was also built on a new parking lot that they ripped up after they've just paved it and forced this black church to move out. Thank you.
Okay. Who's next this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Beth from Ben's in Belleville, Main Street. And several of us merchants do have a lot of concerns about the market, which we actually talked to Mr. White about, and Alderman White, and maybe he has a statement that is from some of us that maybe could be read and maybe could address some of the concerns. I also wanted to tell him I appreciate him coming down, asking all of us our views on it, because nobody else did. I got another phone call from another alderman, but from the city of Belleville, nobody came and talked to anybody on Main Street. I was out of town when the Main Street meeting was held, so I sent an email. My email went unanswered because Daryl was told not to answer it. So if you don't communicate with us, what are we supposed to do? So little upset about the lack of communication, and I would just like to ask that our questions be addressed. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Susie Ann Whitehead. I'm from 1924 Celebration. I live in Reunion Place and the townhomes at Reunion. And I am here for TIF 10, but not regarding, I hope that you figure out the accounting part of it. That's great, fantastic, figure it out. But this development, our whole neighborhood was developed as part of TIF 10, and one of the developers went bankrupt and left us with 74 undeveloped lots that the city has continued to mow once a month during mowing season, which is great for the neighborhood, but not really good for the tax base. So I hope that we can find some way to look to entice people to develop, to finish the neighborhood, to help the city, and of course to help Reunion, because we're about $300,000 in property taxes and $20,000 in fees to our neighborhood that we could really use to continue to maintain it. So that's what I'm here for. Hopefully the accounting works out. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to close public. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Patty Law. I live at 221 East Main, and I also have a business downtown, a hair salon. I have a nephew who's been in Germany for 2 years. He presented me with this little present, real different little thing, over Christmas. Told me he bought it at a stall in Germany. I said, I don't understand. And he said, well, they're outdoor stalls. That's all I can tell you. They're just cute. They're all decorated. And I said, well, isn't it cold? You shop outside? Yes. He said, it is cold, but it's cool. And he said, you just go inside the stores. There's all kind of stores around there. You get warmed up, and then you go back out and check out things again. So I thought, you know what, when I went to the Belleville Main Street meeting and heard this, I thought, well, wait a minute. That's what he's talking about. Also, when I started hearing stuff in the air about people worrying about, their money not being spent at their shops, in May, I went down to Art on the Square. And I ended up spending my money at Soul Survivor. Bought the cutest little purse you ever saw. So you will go downtown, and I'm not saying they're not going to spend their money at the Christmas mart, but they're also going to have exposure to our shops, our very, very unique shops downtown. And this is something that will draw them. It's something you don't find anywhere. I think Chicago is going to be your closest place. So if that can draw them down, and it's cold enough, let's just pray for cold weather. Then they're going to go in those shops, and they're going to see something, just like I did on my way to Art on the Square, and came back and spent there. So I think it's going to be we have a very unique town, and it is a very unique idea. And I think that we could run with it, and I think it could do us good. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Daryl Drennan, 609 Sycamore Street, Belleville. I'm for the Christmas pageant or shopping thing also. My wife lived in Germany as a girl, and then in the 90s she was an officer in the Army stationed over there. And she is excited about this, and she says she doesn't think it's going to have any impact on the local businesses. And this weekend, I took a walk. Everybody's their own business owner. They can set their own hours, but I think y'all need to capitalize on the tourists that are going to come for this, closing at 5 or 5:30 every day. I don't think you're going to make, you're not going to capitalize on them. If you are willing to stay open on Sundays, stay open a little bit later during the week while this is going on, I think as these tourists come through, I think you'll make some money on the deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, I'm going to close public participation, and we're going to move into the regular part of the meeting. The next thing I want to say is that we covered the presentation with Brad Joseph, but as we do each month, the first council meeting of the month, the character word of the month is citizenship, meaning doing your share to make your community better and being a good neighbor. So we continuously read those character words, and we certainly believe in what they stand for. At this time, I would ask for approval of the minutes of the last council meeting.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the city council meeting minutes from June 16th, 2014.
Second.
So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Page 5, when we were talking about giving money for an economic development project, Alderman Schneider and I voted no. You have her reason for voting no. I also explained my reason, and I'd like it listed.
Okay. Do you note that? It's not really, but we'll talk about that later when we, okay. Okay, so we have that noted. Anything else at this time? All in favor of approving the minutes with that said stated change? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. At this time, we ask for a motion to pay the claims, payroll, and disbursements.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion on this motion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. I know is there the zoning board, do you want to do them all individually, or do you able to put some of them in a group? What's your pleasure?
I want item 44 and case 45 separated, Your Honor.
What number, I'm sorry?
Case 44, 45 separated.
44 and 45, is there anything else you want separated? 43, so we can read them all except for 43, 44, and 45, we'll do them individually, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Dallas, you okay with that?
Let's do it.
So if you will read them accordingly, and this is, go ahead.
Number 1, amend section 60-6-73 to include the terms commercial office and call center to the permitted uses in the D1 light industrial zoning district based on resolution 2982. Number 2, case 37, June 14, Scott Muir requesting a sign installation permit for the area of special control in order to install one 3x3 vinyl window decal and one 2x2 vinyl window decal at 124 East Main Street located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district. 3, case 38, June 14, Empire Comfort Systems Incorporated, requesting to rezone the property at 921 and 925 Freeburg Avenue from an A1 single-family zoning district to an D1 light industrial zoning district. Number 4, case 39, June 14, Empire Comfort Systems Incorporated, requesting an area bulk variance for relief from the required 25-foot setbacks in the D1 light industry zoning district at 921 and 925 Freeburg Avenue. 5, case 40, June 14, Karen D. Tinsley, requesting a use variance in order to allow light commercial retail use with allowance of occasional foot traffic for primarily online-based mail-order business looking to increase local exposure in business at 3814 North Belt West, located in a C1 light commercial zoning district. 6, case 42, June 14, SSC Incorporated Verizon, requesting a special use permit in order to install a wireless communication facility at 4500 Memorial Drive, located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Number 10.
That's 1 through 6. Would you like to do 10 now as well?
We'll do the ones that are, ones that we didn't include, is that right? We'll go ahead and proceed with 10 and 11?
10 and
yeah?
11?
Okay.
Sure. Number 10, case 46, June 14, Bank of Belleville, requesting an area bulk variance in order to reduce the number of required on-site parking spaces at 213, 219 South Illinois Street in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district. 11, case 47, City of Belleville, requesting a site installation permit for the area of special control in order to place 1 freestanding sign totaling 16 square feet, 2 flush-mounted wall signs totaling approximately 10 square feet each, and 1 awning sign totaling approximately 10 square feet in area for a total of 46 square feet of signage at 407 East Lincoln Street in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Seibert to comply with the zoning board and have the proper ordinance drawn on all those that were just read.
Second.
And second by Alderman Schmidt. Understanding again that number 7, which is case 43, number 8, case 44, and number 9, case 45 are excluded from this motion.
Yes.
To be voted on separately. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor of approving these zoning board recommendations from the zoning board and have the proper ordinances drawn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Would you now read number 7, Dallas?
Yes, sir. Number 7, case 43, June 14, Donna Gonzalez, requesting a use variance in order to use the accessory structure as a residence at 3912 Summit Street, located in A1 single-family zoning district.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve and have the proper ordinance drawn.
I second that.
We have a motion by Alderman Randall, second by Alderman Rudowitz to,
Can I say something, Mayor?
yes.
Kent and I talked to Donna, and this is never going to be a rental property. It is going to be strictly for family. She's got, right now, their son lives in the house, and when he moves out, and they're living in this back residence, and they will move into that, into the other one, and the daughters will move into this little residence, and eventually, Mom, who is disabled, will move in. So it'll be strictly family at all times. And we could put a speculation that it can never be a rental.
So we have a motion and we have a second, and we have Mr. Alderman Ridgewitz's, and you concur with that, Alderman Randall?
I do, sir.
That the stipulation would be that this would only be for family only and never to be a rental. Questions?
So according to the meeting minutes, there were no objectors from the neighborhood, is that correct?
No.
And you guys haven't heard anything?
I live in that neighborhood. I'm only about 5 houses from there, and no one has come to me. This piece of property they were talking about, people have lived in it before.
It's been a residence since 1960. It has its own address. There's a driveway there. There's been no one at the zoning board meeting, to my knowledge, that objected in person. I'd have to defer to the aldermen who were present.
And no one in the neighborhood has come up to me and said they don't.
Well, I think with the stipulation, we help stay much more consistent with what we've done in the past about second residences on same property. I think if it's family, you know, we've had, over the years, we've run into a number of the mother-in-law's house, as they were stated or whatever, from back after World War II or before. So I think that stays much more consistent with that. So with this, Emily, do you have a question for us, or I'm just yielding because it's kind of unique? Okay, so you're, okay. So I think at this time, I'm going to call for the vote to ask that this item be approved and have the proper ordinance drawn based on the addition that the 2 aldermen from Ward 3 placed on this motion. Everybody understand? All in favor of this motion with those changes and providing to have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to the next case.
Number 8, case 44, June 14, Barney Johnson, requesting a use variance in order to erect a 10-by-10 frame building to enclose vacuum and electrical equipment at 114 North 44th Street, located in the B1 multifamily zoning district.
Your Honor, can you have them read case 45 since they were presented that night together?
Okay. Read case 45.
Case 45, June 14, Barney Johnson, requesting area bulk variance to erect a structure 2 feet from the front and side property lines at 114 North 44th Street, located in a B1 multifamily zoning district.
Your Honor, the reason I asked these to be pulled out and not voted in the regular vote, I understand this is in Ward 4. The gentleman that lives next to this property also is a friend of mine. He contacted me concerned at the meeting that he did not feel people were listening to his concerns as it relates to noise. And I got a chance to read through the minutes, and it states in the minutes that if this is going to cause additional noise, which is going to basically disturb him, is sleeping, possibly the value of the home, it was suggested that he could put up a privacy fence. Your Honor, if a business is coming in and asking for a variance and wants to do something next to a residential area, shouldn't it be the business trying to quell the noise?
Beg your pardon, Mr. Hayden. No one suggested he put up a fence. Mr. Johnson suggested that to be a good neighbor, if additional noise was generated by his constructing the building and moving the actual vacuums inside of the building, that he would construct a fence. I think that was just a misunderstanding. The gist of the whole situation out there is that right now, those vacuums are sitting outside. They're sitting outside, they're enclosed by nothing. And if anyone possibly goes over there and get their car washed, you could possibly hear those vacuums running. Now, the gentleman does live behind the apartment building that's adjacent to the car wash. And it's understandable his concern since he does work at night, and consequently he sleeps in the daytime. Now, Mr. Johnson, he's been there quite a number of years, and what he suggested is that he would build the building insulated, put mufflers on the vacuums, however, so he would do it, and actually put up a privacy fence along the backside of his car wash to kind of enclose that building and all. I don't know if Mr. Johnson is here. I don't know if Ms. Podium, but that was my understanding that I got from it. Actually, we see a possible reduction in overall noise that's being presented right now out there. His concern is the residents' concern is well noted. We wanted to actually talk to him afterwards because it seemed like he didn't really understand what was going on, but he left. And I'm sorry that we couldn't really get across.
He was very upset. Alderman Anthony, I respect your input. I appreciate that. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the minutes that were in the packet, but then I think you may want to make some suggestions to the zoning board, because as I read it, it states here, Alderman Anthony spoke in favor of the request and suggested to Mr. Kimmer Jr. that he may wish to place a privacy fence on his property to reduce the noise from the apartment complex and car wash. Do you understand? That's what's in the minutes.
Well, they got it wrong, man.
Okay, I'm just telling you what's in the minutes.
I suggest that a resident should put up a privacy fence. I suggested that Mr. Johnson could put up a privacy fence.
But that was not part of the stipulations.
In between the back of,
Could
I
be added now.
suggested it, and he agreed that if, after he done the work, that if there was still a noise concern, him being a good neighbor over there in that neighborhood that he would make the adjustments himself. Now, that was my understanding. Sorry that it was, you know, and I can see where he may have gotten the wrong understanding there also, so.
Well, yeah, the minutes are
Yeah.
state that your statements were wrong, then obviously I could see where there was some
Yeah, that was
communication is what happened.
that was a misinterpretation. I surely would not suggest a resident go to the expense putting up a privacy fence on his property, when actually the parcels that we're talking about, both parcels actually belong to Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
So,
But if he says he's willing to put up a privacy fence, and the resident has already stated that he believes that this is gonna be an issue and concern, why wouldn't we make that part of the stipulation now?
I don't know if Emily you weren't there, were you?
I went home sick that day, I wasn't there.
Okay, I don't know,
Are you willing to make that part of the stipulation, Alderman Anthony?
sure.
But whose decision is that going to be?
Yeah.
From Ward 4, that's what I'm asking. Who is going to decide whether the noise is?
Well, if you all
I'm
here
saying that it'd be a
tonight,
part of the stipulation, that he
If-
put
if-
it up as part of the project.
if you
Mr.
think tonight
Davison.
that should be part of the stipulation, this council has a right to add that as a stipulation.
We've done that with many other projects.
So I would.
I mean, that's a standard thing.
Let me get this right. What are you suggesting? Well, how would it read? You're saying that he would have to put this fence up regardless?
As part of his construction.
As part of his construction, yes.
Well, he's gonna put up one privacy fence already. Now, we're suggesting, you know, two, that's what I'm saying.
In the area of concern, yes.
If he puts up a privacy fence in back of the car wash, all the way down from the street, all the way to the, I guess, to the end of it, and are you saying that we should stipulate that he should put up two privacy fences?
If it's in the area of the concern of the resident, yes, that's been our normal standard practice.
I just don't know about requiring somebody.
Well, that's not, I think we're a little bit unclear here about the fences. Alderman Schneider had her hand up first.
Yes, it says that the structure 2 feet from the front and side property lines. Well, there's not gonna be enough room for him to put up a fence if the structure's already going to be 2 feet from the line. If I understood right, when I put my shed up, you have to be 5 feet from the line.
Well, that's why they're asking for this bulk
Right.
variance.
Right.
That's one of the.
Well, then there's no way they can put a fence, cause then they're gonna really be, how can they come back? The fence should have been addressed first, because then they're gonna have to come back, because they're already not in compliance with the ordinance, because it says 2 feet that the shed will be, then you gotta have room to get around. There's no room, you'll be onto the man's property.
I'm gonna let Emily give some explanation, possibly it might help us.
Well, some explanation and some questions also. So the explanation, as far as our fence requirements go, they don't have to be set back from a side property line. They do have to be, a fence does have to be set back from the street a certain distance. So on the street that goes, what street is it that goes north Belt West there?
42nd, what is that?
It would have to be set back from that street
44th.
a certain distance,
44th
which would not fence in the shed at all. My question, I guess, is we're talking about fencing in a shed here. The way these parcels are arranged, the car wash is on a parcel. As you go north of the car wash, there's a separate parcel that has the parking lot, and then you have a parcel on which the apartment building is located. So the parcel that is just the parking lot is where the shed is going to go. It's gonna be used for the business that is the car wash. They're gonna be taking up 2 parking spaces from the apartment complex, but there's enough parking there anyway, so that's okay.
Does he own the apartment also?
He owns all of it.
Okay, so.
That's why he's applying for this.
So he
I'm a
has the
little
ability to
confused
put
at
that.
where this fence would go if that motion is made. I wanna make sure that it's something we can enforce.
Okay, Alderman Randall.
The shed itself, it says it's to be used for storage. So does that make the equipment portable, that it would be used outside of the shed, or is it to be used within the shed?
The vacuums are permanently attached to the ground. It's a huge piece of equipment, you know,
So I guess my
that's not
question
portable.
is, you've got something that's already enclosed, now you want to put another barrier around it?
Well, I think
That's what
Mr. Johnson
Mr. Hayden's
suggested
proposing.
that. And, you know, I don't think that was part of the original, I don't think that was in the package here.
A fence was never part of this
Right.
discussion until tonight, is my
And
understanding.
it came up, the fence actually came up after